conversation about subscription commerce, a shift from transactional to relational, with Thomas Marks, the VP of Marketing at Stickyio, and Stephen Azell, founder of My Greenfields. And we're going to learn about how the subscription model opens new opportunities to really deepen your relationships with your customers and to build loyalty. All while adding reoccurring predictable revenue to your bottom line, because that's important. And a question for our community, remember to keep, I see the chat box is alive, filled with great insight, comments, everyone's introducing themselves, answering the questions. So the question for this, going into this panel, is how do you deepen customer relationships? All right, and go ahead and take it away, Thomas and Stephen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Marks, and I'm the VP of Marketing at Stickyio. I'd love to kick things off by getting you acquainted with who we are. Stickyio is a back-end e-commerce platform that specializes in subscription management and recurring billing. We were founded more than 12 years ago to help traditional and digitally native brands start and scale their direct-to-consumer and subscription businesses. I'm joined today by one of Sticky's longtime merchants and partners, Stephen Azell. Stephen knows how to build highly scalable and sustainable online businesses and what it takes to acquire customers. He's built multiple 8-figure e-commerce businesses from the ground up that have generated tens of millions of dollars. He's the founder and CEO of My Greenfields. Thanks for joining me today, Stephen. Today we're going to talk about subscription commerce. There's been a trending shift in business models and marketing strategies from transactional selling, which is focused on one-time transactions, to relational selling, which aims to encourage repeat purchases. So let's jump right in. First, Stephen, I'd like for you to share a little bit about your background. And for those who don't know, tell us a bit about My Greenfields and what inspired you to start it.
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me on, Thomas and Founder Made. This is awesome. I get to share some really good news with this community. So my journey, I guess it started off as a teenager. I came down with a medical condition when I was a teenager. I was diagnosed genetically unemployable. So I've been a serial entrepreneur since I'm 19. I owned my first restaurant when I was 19. I built 50 restaurants in New York City for some, Food Network stars, et cetera, in my 20s. And got married and started having kids. And after my first kid, which I'll tell a story in a second, I was empty and had no gas in the tank. So, which was great because in 2008 and 9, I lost millions of dollars in the banking crash and had to start over. So we left New York City, moved to Northern Michigan, and, kind of started over. And when we had our first child, we have 5 kids now. But when my firstborn son was a 3-week-old, little shrimp, he was like this big. I was in charge of his second or third bath. And I was excited, first time dad, I'm going to give my son a bath, right? It's in the kitchen sink and the green thing that you throw in the sink. And I was getting him undressed and I saw it looked like I had dunked him, Thomas, into hot water. And he was scalded. And I was like, oh my gosh, his beet red like a crazy rash. And I called my wife over, who was a nurse, and she freaked out. So then I freaked out even more. So we got him dressed and ran to the pediatrician, and from the pediatrician to a dermatologist with this list of pharmaceuticals and antibiotics. And on our way to the pharmacy, I called a family member and I was giving an update on what's going on with my son. And she asked me a question that changed my life. She says, what are you using for laundry detergent? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm using the big bright orange bottle, the one that grandma always used. So, oh no, you can't use that. You got to use something that's safer, that's more non-toxic. And so give me this idea of how to strip his clothes and make this homemade concoction. And, went home and did it. And without any of those pharmaceuticals, he was fine in a day. And that was my aha moment of well, if there's stuff in my laundry room that can make my kid sick, what else is in there? What's under the kitchen sink? So I became a full-blown eco-conspiracy theorist. So fast forward a few years, I'm this sustainable living guy, and I'm at a farmer's market getting organic produce, and I meet this lady who's settling, laundry detergent. And it was eco, and it's this and that. And I'm awesome. And I got to know her, and I met her again through this, local angel investor group. And so I'm looking for an investor, and I'm oh my gosh, this is so in alignment with what I believe. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a sales guy, I know how to sell stuff. And let's go do this thing. So I invested heavily into the business and pivoted. And then we had this idea of like, hey, we can sell laundry soap online. How hard could it be? Just build a website, you're a millionaire, right? I was that naive. And this was 7 years ago. So we launched under this concept of like, hey, let's sell laundry soap online. And what came out of that was we shipping a 4-pound, 50-ounce laundry jug from northern Michigan to San Diego. It's about $14 in shipping cost. At a $14 MSRP product, that's the go out of business strategy. So we kind of reverse engineered the problem and said, what if we don't ship water? What if the member, the consumer, only gets the package once and gets gets orders on subscription, gets refills? So we fundamentally reimagined a laundry room, and then subsequently under the kitchen sink and all over the house. And so we started online, and what started off with me, a laptop, a couple, 3 people, a laptop, a kitchen sink, and some laundry soap is now the fastest growing eco-chemical manufacturer in North America. Tens of millions of dollars of recurring revenue. It's been quite a journey. So there's the founder story.
That's great. An amazing story. That's a good segue, because what we want to talk about is relational selling and recurring revenue. So when it comes to transactional versus relational selling, both approaches can be effective, obviously. But if brands are looking to go beyond just making a sale and want to retain customers and build long-term relationships, what do you think the key differences between these two strategies are?
In my, we have we have lots of little slogans and parables that we talk about in our company. But at the business level, transactions pay the bills and relationships build companies. And we've been able to build a company with no debt, no investors, strictly on the oxygen of reoccurring revenue. And we realized from day zero, right, that our list, our quote unquote customers, they're humans and they have struggles and pains and things to overcome. And so we've from day zero gone out of our way to build very deep rooted relationships with our customers. And we've, found a way to do this now at scale with, tens of thousands, over 100,000 customers, members. And it's provided us a mechanism to create a movement and to create a revolution and build a community. Customers, subscribers are on the outside looking in. So how many people feel like, oh, I'm really part of the New York Times, or I'm really part of Netflix. I'm really, part of this e-commerce business. Zero, absolutely zero. So we don't look at it that way. We call people family members and we mean it, right? And a family comes with the good, bad, and the ugly, and we're really transparent and really raw and real with our family members because they're on the inside looking out. And they're part of a community and they're part of a movement because they really are. And it's not hyperbole and it's not marketing hype. Like we're really creating change. Like we're a mission-driven business. And we take our family members on that journey with us. So, and I think that's where the intersection is between relationship and consumerism, we have people on the inside with us, part of the journey.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think that's a common thing that we see across a lot of subscription businesses is they're mission driven and they have a really strong community around, the mission. And obviously yours is, eco house products and people are bought into that. So shifting gears a little bit, Sticky recently conducted a consumer survey in partnership with payments.com to better understand the subscription preferences and expectations of consumers and the features subscription provides most support to convert subscribers. We found that 81% of the US population has access to at least one type of subscription. How have you seen the direct-to-consumer and subscription market evolve over the past couple of years? And what do you feel are the benefits of a subscription program for both merchants and consumers?
Good question. I've seen it evolve incredibly. I mean, like at a rapid pace. I mean, let's just look at like the subscription box industry. I mean, 5 years ago, there was more subscription box, like surprise boxes popping up every month than the industry knew what to do with. An entire SaaS platform was built around it. And we've seemingly watched that entire industry implode upon itself, in which is only a very few really awesome brands that are building subscription boxes. And every single one of them that are still left behind and still growing are based on customization and building a customized, personalized journey for the user. But getting a surprise box every month, the allure of that, by and large, as the industry has evaporated. And here's why. There's no relationship, right? And what started off as a fad, especially now with, this kind of new economy that we're walking into, not just a subscription economy, but the macro climate, people only want to invest in things that they believe in, right? And they want to believe in things that relate to them. So there's been lots of, a huge evolution, especially in the e-commerce subscription business. I also see that because of a lot of bad actors, right? There's no shortage of bad actors in the continuity subscription game. This free trial of this specific pill, and if you take this pill, you're going to have this crazy experience, and it's free. It's only $5 in shipping, and it's somewhere in number 3 font, all the way at the bottom of the page, you're going to be billed $97 a month for another bottle of these pills, right? So we all know that free trial space. And that's evolved, and that's changed a lot because of regulation, because a lot of bad actors came in and hurt a lot of consumers. So, and in response to lots of consumers being hurt by bad actors in the subscription space, well, consumer behavior has changed. And we're seeing that people are way more subscription averse than they ever were. So now our acquisition strategy is shifted completely away from, 100% was we're only going to acquire members, to now we're going to acquire an e-commerce straight sale person, member, consumer, and build a relationship with them, and then get them to convert into a membership that's convenient, that's part of a mission, that has great benefits, that has great pricing, et cetera, et cetera. So we overcome lots of those objections once we've built a relationship and got some really great products in their hands at a great price, and then we convert them into a subscription. So that path to reoccurring revenue now comes with some dating, where before it didn't necessarily did. Now we have to go out of our way to acquire that customer, right? And build a relationship into being a member.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, dating first. Before the pandemic, I was only subscribing to 1 or 2 things, and now I have about 10 active subscriptions. And most of those, I bought I did a single purchase and tried the product before I wound up subscribing to it. So it's a good way of looking at it. So the pandemic, our purchasing habits are lingering, and e-commerce sales projecting are continuing to grow. And the direct-to-consumer playing field has gotten very competitive. So you alluded a little bit to this, but I wonder if you could get a little more specific about what specific strategies you're focused on in 2021, not just to attract and convert customers, but keep them engaged.
Great question too. Probably the biggest thing is storytelling. What we found, especially in email and SMS, but specifically email, is that the more that we tell and sell through stories, the more that our community, our tribe, our family members relate and support us. So we're focusing a lot more on storytelling. I mean, people, we're going to create content, but that's so subjective. And we just really look at, something that we're focusing heavily on is telling stories. We're actually in the middle of a pretty big rebrand. So more to come there, but yeah, we're in the process of telling our story in a new way. I can't disclose now what that story looks like in this public forum, but we feel like a moral obligation to the world to tell our story. So for example, one of our stories is in the last year, we've rescued over 250 women from sex slavery, and they've been rehabilitated, healed, and many of them have sustainable jobs working for us. We fund an entire deaf village in Jamaica that through a project that they manufacture products for us. So we take these nonprofit initiatives and create macro and micro industries out of mission-driven organizations. Well, that's really awesome. And that makes all of my team and our company feel really great. but we don't really tell that story a whole lot, right, to our members. I mean, we do, but not at scale. And because we are giving, what we do is in private, we do it, for God, and we want to like build really cool companies that help people. But there's a point of that we need to bring our member along on that journey to share with them that impact. I mean, just last year alone, we saved over 3 million pieces of plastic from ever being produced by shipping recyclable refills. And so it's a big game, so our main focus right now is telling stories.
That's great. And I didn't know that about your community. So
you see, we don't do a great, we have to do a better job at telling stories.
So that's an amazing aspect of, what building a family around an idea can do. It's a multiplier effect. So let's switch gears one more time and talk a little bit about operations, because one of the things that I think people who have straight sell businesses who may be thinking about getting into subscriptions or who want to start a subscription business, it's a bit different. So from technology to warehousing to shipping and fulfillment and customer service, what do subscription brands need to consider to achieve efficiency in operations that's unique or different from the straight sell merchandising model?
Yeah, well, that's multifaceted question. So I'll start with, you need a strong foundation. I'll personally, we started in the Shopify world years ago. Shopify clearly has evolved a lot over the years. We moved over to you guys pretty early in our journey, even before you were Sticky, when it was called Limelight. And I mean, you didn't ask me for this, right? And that's not, you didn't invite me on, but you guys have been a huge, player and one of our strongest strategic partners in our growth by giving us a solid platform to build subscriptions and build, reoccurring revenue. So number one, you got to pick a strong partner, right? And that fits your business. And you guys, Sticky has been, that partner for us. And we just went through an RFP and we just put you guys through the gauntlet and threatened to leave, right? Because like, hey, we want to do that, because in day zero, like, hey, we put an RFP out because we're committed to our family member. We're not committed to our P&L. We're not committed to our balance sheet. We're not committed to you. We're committed to providing the most amount of value for the end user. And you guys won, right? And we're staying with you guys because there's still best of breed. All that to say that if you have, so I'm speaking to the small business owner, like the SMB that's out there on the side of the camera, you're listening to this. If you have a everyday consumable, if you have a product that can be consumed on some sort of frequency, you owe it to your customer, to your person on your list, to offer them to get it on a reoccurring basis, strictly on the premise of convenience. We're seeing that people right now are so fractured because of this kind of new world that has been ushered in the last 18 months. And people, there's a large population of people that are overwhelmed with freaking life, right? Life is overwhelming right now for lots of reasons. And I'll digress on my opinions on that. But the reality is people are fractured and they need simplicity. And if you can offer them some semblance of convenience, right? That alone is an amazing selling proposition because people are so fractured in their thoughts as a result of the world that we're living in right now. So if it's not just price or if it's not value, it's just the strict convenience of getting your thing in their hands on a regular basis to make that one section of their life a little easier and a little better, you owe it to them to do it.
That's great. It is about convenience. I mean, that's certainly what it was about for me over the last 18 months of like trying to navigate a new normal and the things that I'm using all the time. Why not just have them show up, at the frequency that I want to consume them? And oftentimes the grocery store shelves or wherever you shop, the shelves were empty. And so it led me to, figure out new brands that were offering that convenience. Before we get to our last planned question, there are a couple of questions in the chat that I wanted to get to. you talked a bit about this, but I just wondered if you had anything that you would add. There was a question from the Founder Made community. How do you deepen customer relationships? And you talked about storytelling and community building and being mission driven, but is there anything else that you would add to that?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Think about, I know in this modern world, it's like e-commerce and Amazon and, set it and forget it. But back in the day, there was a neighborhood butcher that people went to go get their meat, or the neighborhood produce before the supermarket. Like at its purest form, people had relationships with the merchants that they shopped with. They voted with their dollars or their currency, wherever they lived in the world, based on a relationship. So if the butcher on this side of the street treated them better, cut their meats better, gave them better quality versus the guy 2 blocks down the road, or vice versa, they would go to the person that they had the best relationship with. And then over time, convenience came in as, oh, well, now I can get everything at the supermarket. And then now I can get everything. I don't even have to leave my couch. I can, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a fundamental innate desire from human to connect. So we have always and go out of our way to connect humans. So whether it's somebody shipping, like packing the box, right, all the way down to, we want the person, our member, when they're opening up that box, to feel like somebody actually packed that for them with care. And not just in some big old box with a bunch of bubble wrap and it just got stuck in there. Because how many times have you opened up a box, a brown box with the freaking smiley face on it and said, oh my gosh, that robot gave a crap about me when they packed my box. I know I got it in free 2 days, but how much care went into that package? Zero. So whether you're doing fulfillment yourself or partnering with a 3PL fulfillment business, make sure like there's care going into that box. We put notes, right? So like on our Dryer Angel campaign, whether it's a deaf woman in Jamaica or a formerly trafficked handicapped person in Southeast Asia that we've rescued, we connect the human that made that product with the human that purchased it, right? And then there's a love exchange that goes across the world because of that. So yeah, so whether it's packaging boxes or making products or introducing, our manufacturing staff one by one to our members through our Facebook groups, or whether it's through email or whether it's through blog content, we connect humans with humans. And I think that that's a huge opportunity that's unscalable. And we found ways to scale it, right? And connect humans to humans, I believe, is the future currency that we're all going to be vying for.
Yeah, that's a great, I love the way you tied, pre-supermarket to, kind of the full circle of everybody. I think that's why digitally native vertical brands have risen so quickly, is because that human touch was missing and there was no community. And as conscious consumers, more conscious consumerism developed, people wanted that again and wanted to know that they were buying from companies that had good missions and that were doing good things with their profits. The second question that we had is probably a little easier to answer because it's kind of an either or. Do you feel like having a very open and easy cancellation policy is as good as allowing a one-time purchase, then using a conversion to membership strategy?
Yeah, this question, I could take this question. That's a really good question, by the way, whoever asked it, in lots of directions. And I'll just give a little history context because I'm a nerd, right? So I study our industry emphatically. And as the FCC and opt-in buttons and all this kind of stuff came to be over the last few years, it's like, hey, what shade of gray can I make my offer so that I don't lose conversions? And it's like, well, let's make it really easy for people to cancel. And yes, and I have a portfolio of companies now, we make it very easy for people to cancel, because if you make it hard, right, then people never come back. If that parting experience is a really bad experience, that is an absolute dead lead on your list, right? You can write them off because whether it's a great deal, 50% off, 99% off, they're not going to come back if you leave on bad terms. But when we think about relationship selling in the context of an invitation for something better, and that's what I said earlier, what we're finding, right, is that when we acquire a customer, a member, through a straight sale offer at an amazing price and start building that relationship and then invite them into a value as a member, that stick rate, right? That churn rate is super low. That retention rate is super high because it was an invitation with full transparency versus the way that it comes in as free trial with a forced subscription on the back end in which you have to cancel. Now, don't get me wrong. We still go out of our way because we also have to run a business. And if it's not for reoccurring revenue and not for profit, then we don't get to rescue people. We don't get to fund ministries. We don't get to accomplish the goal. So yes, we absolutely do try our best to try day zero to get a subscriber, to get a member in. But what we find is people are way more inclined to convert when it's like, no, right under the buy button, no subscription required, right? That straight sale, no straight sale, you just write that piece of copy. No subscription required underneath your straight sale offers, and you will see an amazing increase in conversion rates because now you've taken out all of the risk of and all of the bad memories they've had with bad actors that may look or smell or look just like you. And then go out of your way to be honest and transparent and tell stories and build relationships and then invite them into something that's convenient with great value, and you'll build lasting consumers. I mean, Thomas, you guys see our data, right? Like people stay with us for a really long time, right? Like we have subscribers that literally when we migrated from Zora to you guys in August of 2018, we still have active subscribers today that get laundry cleaning products shipped to them every single day, 3 years down the road. And it's not just because our products work, it's because they believe in what we do.
That's great. We're almost at time. So just in closing, what advice would you give to companies just getting started with subscriptions or those looking to add subscriptions to their existing business?
Do good stuff. Do stuff that matters. Right? People consumers today want to be a part, especially like Xers, millennials, they want to be a part of something cool, right? They want to be a part of something that actually helps people. So go out of your way to do stuff that matters. Again, we ask the questions like, what does, freeing women from sex slavery have to do with laundry soap? Well, nothing. Well, to us, it's everything. So find the ways to connect with humans and do good stuff that matters. And you will build a tribe. They will follow you. You will repel the people that are not supposed to be with you, and you will attract and retain the people that are supposed to.
That's awesome. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And Stephen, thank you for sharing your amazing journey in this world of building a community around subscription commerce. If you have questions or want to learn more about our subscription solutions, contact us at Stickyio. And thanks to FounderMade for the opportunity to share Stephen's amazing story with your community.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Thomas, Stephen, thank you. This is exactly the type of brand and story and mission that makes our jobs, gives us mission to do our jobs. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was just like talking to the computer saying, oh, yes, you're amazing. Like, look at what you're building and your story. And I also love the fact that you were, and I think this is a part of, what I think brings us all as entrepreneurs is you had the humility to continue on the journey, and you've been so open with everything that's worked, not worked, the whole thing. But yeah, really, thank you guys for joining and really appreciate what you're building and everything you're doing for our community. So,
well, you guys need to keep up the great work because, conscious entrepreneurs is how we get out of this kind of interesting mess we find ourselves in as a society.
Yep. Building business is the way to build out of it. So really wonderful. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
All right.